Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the BASEHITBALL4 podcast. My name is Glenn Davis alongside Alex Cashman, Scott Rollisveld, Tyler Blumenstick. It's the first of our off-season series of podcasts where we dive into what's going on the hot stove, who's going where, who's getting hired, who's getting fired, and what everything's going to look like during the 2021 baseball season when it resumes, when spring training starts in February. We already had some big news since the last time we talked 2 weeks ago. Last week was the election week and all that, so we decided to put it off until this week. And we got some news. We got some managers getting hired. We got A.J. Hinch and Alex Cora coming back from their suspension. Cora going back to the Red Sox. Hinch going to the Tigers. La Russa is going to go to the White Sox. And we have some qualifying offers and a new owner of the New York Mets. And we're going to start there. Steve Cohen has officially bought the New York Mets. He had a press conference a couple of days ago where he outlined his plans for the organization. And obviously, none of us here are Mets fans. As Yankee fans, and then Scott, our resident Phillies fan, we all, were born into hating the Mets. But even with that bias aside, you have to admit, based on the opening press conference of Steve Cohen, that the Mets are in much better hands than they were with the Wilpons the last few decades.
Yeah, the Mets seem to be in a good spot. Cohen obviously is going to come in. He's going to start spending money. I was talking to a couple of friends that are Mets fans. They're super excited. And, yeah, taking my bias out of it as a Phillies fan, I think you have to be encouraged because Cohen is essentially saying, this isn't my living here. Like, I'm here to revamp the Mets, make them exciting, make an exciting brand of baseball again in Queens and make the fans happy, which I think is encouraging. It's obviously terrifying as a Phillies fan, what he might be able to do with the money that he has, because he has more money than just about anybody in baseball. And he's going to pull the trigger on a lot of things and rebuild that roster. But, yeah, it's definitely encouraging to get the Wilpons out of there and bring Steve Cohen in to rejuvenate the Mets.
And I think where the Mets have an advantage now more than all other teams in, Major League Baseball is that Steve Cohen was not the owner of the Mets last year when every team lost a lot of money and a lot of revenue because of the coronavirus and because of all the money they lost from no gate and all that kind of stuff. So Steve Cohen was going to spend a lot of money anyway, this being his first off season as the Mets owner, and he wants to make a splash and make a good first impression on his fan base. But he even gets now even more of an advantage because he might be bidding by himself with a lot of teams trying to recoup some revenue that they lost.
Was it you that told me that these owners are billionaires and it shouldn't matter whether or not they have a bad season?
What's your point?
Meaning that if they lost all this money during the season, it shouldn't matter. They could still go after anyone.
It shouldn't matter, but to the billionaires, a lot of them will.
Did you talk to them? Do we know that for a fact?
That's what that's going to happen.
Why? Why? Because if that's the case,
the way it is.
If that's the case, then you could just give the Mets every free agent right now. Because first of all, he just spent how much money to get the Mets, so his pockets are a little less empty than they were. Second of all, if it was the case and owners weren't willing to spend the money, then every free agent who gets paid this year should just take a one-year deal because the whole market's going to be down. Because Steve Cohen isn't going to affect the entire Major League Baseball. I get that people are excited about Steve Cohen, but at the end of the day, you can't jump to conclusions until you've seen the Mets product on the field in the coming years. He said all the right things so far, but at the end of the day, it means nothing until you win baseball games, and he hasn't proven that yet. Not that he can or can't. I'm just saying he hasn't proven anything yet.
I'm a Cash there. I mean, look, I watched the presser. Obviously not a Mets fan, but it gets me excited because I do know people that are Mets fans. Nick, who's on the Caps on Sports podcast, and Courts in Session, is a Mets fan. He's been down on the team for a couple of years, and like a lot of Mets fans. And now with Steve Cohen back, I saw him interacting on Twitter with a bunch of fans. I was scrolling through his replies. Just one that really jumped out at me and something the Wilpons failed to do. And one of them was I think it was a stadium ticket checker who works at Citi Field. He said it's like the best place to work, this, and that, tagged Steve Cohen and said, but I'm a Jets fan. We wear green. That needs to change. Can you do something about it? And he said, thanks, I'll look into it. So just like little things like that where he
Wait, what?
He's a Mets fan
wears
himself
green?
and wants to
Wait, what?
connect.
Who wears green?
The Mets security people or the ticket checkers at Citi Field.
I'm confused
I think I
on
missed
why
a piece.
the Jets have
So-
anything to do with that.
Because in the tweet, the ticket checker tweeted Steve Cohen and said, "The green is for the Jets. We wear green. Can you look into changing the color of our uniform?" And Steve Cohen said, "Yes, I'll look into it. This,
Okay.
and that."
I
Basically
got it.
saying
I
like
got it.
What do
he's
the
coming
Jets
in.
have? What do the Jets have to do with it, though?
No, the tweet
was in the tweet.
saying I'm a Jets fan. The Jets wear green, not the Mets. So me as an employee of the Mets shouldn't wear green.
Oh.
Am I right? Am I right there?
Yes.
It's not a huge detail, but like I guess the whole
But you
point
said
of
it.
it. Yeah, no, I know. It's not a.
No,
I mean, it
that
was part
makes
of the
sense. I
tweet.
just didn't understand it. I'm a little slow.
It's part of the major story, but the whole, I guess, the punchline of this entire story is Steve Cohen is already on Twitter interacting with Mets fans who are just like him. I mean, if you take it back 2 weeks ago, like, yeah, he was in the process of buying the Mets, but he was just another Mets fan with hopes of one day buying the Mets, and his chance happened to come a lot sooner than a lot of others. But he wants to connect with the fan base, and I think this is a huge thing to be excited about if you're a Mets fan or a Mets player or a prospective free agent wanting to play for the Mets. I think this is a big thing. I don't think it's going to happen immediately, but I think it's going to happen. So,
And Mets fans I talk to, I have a friend, his name's CJ, and he was never interested in the offseason because the Mets were never going to be in play for a Machado or Harper or Corbin or Cole and all these big free agents that have come and gone over the past 5 years. And now with Cohen, the Mets, being a New York franchise, have taken the rightful spot as one of those major players in major free agents. They won't get everyone. I agree with Cash and Tyler when they say that they're not going to get everyone because that's just unrealistic.
yeah.
But the fact that they're going to be involved is something that teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Dodgers and the Phillies and all these other teams that get major free agents are going to have to worry about because the negotiations are just going to add one more team that wasn't there before. And if you think about it, and again, putting our biases as Yankees and Phillies fans aside, this is probably a better thing for Major League Baseball. Like, baseball is better, and any sport really is better when the New York teams are good. Football is better when the Giants and Jets are good, if the Jets ever are good. Basketball is better when the Knicks and the Nets are good. Major market teams really drive all sports, and for the longest time, the Mets have been this kind of bottom-feeding, small market team in a large city, and they kind of lucked into that 2015 pennant. But now, moving forward, the Mets are going to be not, exactly what the Yankees have been for the last, 40 years under the Steinbrenners, but they're going to be a team that people need to talk about when we get to this point of the year where we're talking about where major free agents are going. Because under the Wilpons, we would have never been talking about the Mets possibly getting a Bauer or a Springer or stealing Real Muto from the Phillies. That's something that would have been just impossible because the Wilpons never wanted to spend money and they were cheap. Now, and I'll have Scott take this because this is going to directly affect him because his, catcher is a major free agent that the Mets are going to be looking at. Now it's a team that you got to be worried about.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it right there. They're just going to drive up the market on these guys. And yes, things might be a little bit down this year, but moving forwards, they're going to be a major player. And I am terrified. I've been saying it for months that JT Realmuto is going to go there just because he wants that record deal. And right now, Cohen's probably the one guy that will do it because he wants to make a splash right away and show to the fans that we're here to play, like we're going to be a threat. I know JT, there's the report that JT doesn't really want to go to New York, but if the money is there, they're going to go.
And they said that 10 years ago about CC Sabathia when he wanted to play out in Los Angeles with his, where he's from, and he wouldn't play in New York across the country. Money talks. And if you get that record contract offer, it doesn't matter. He'll play anywhere. He'll play on the moon for that contract.
Absolutely. We all would. If someone came at us and said, we're going to give you the best contract and, for your position in the sport, anybody's going to take that for the most part. Not a lot of people are going to turn down record-setting money.
Cash, we couldn't hear you.
Unmute again.
But Ty, what Cash is going on, Steve Cohen is going to be a pain in our sides for a long time. No longer are the Mets this laughingstock team that can't afford major free agents when their market dictates that they should.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good.
Sorry, Ty. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I wasn't talking.
Oh.
Glenn did ask you a question.
I did ask you a question.
Ty?
Yes.
This is great radio.
Great podcast.
What is going on here?
Ty,
Glenn
I asked you to just follow up on what Scott said about the Mets being relevant in negotiations now.
Sorry, I thought you asked Cash. That's where this whole thing was a disconnect.
No, this is my fault. I'll admit I was trying to signal Cash that he wasn't live and trying to ask you the question at the same time.
Okay, that's where the disconnect was. So the question was, how will the Mets impact the free agent market, specifically JT Realmuto? I just butchered his name. I put like a little weird accent on that. That was weird. All right, yeah. So, like I said before, I don't think that he's going to make a splash immediately. Cash, it's not funny. But going forward for years to come, I think that, and going back to your point, Glenn, also about how if New York is good, it's good for baseball. What I'm excited for is maybe it's going to force the Steinbrenners and the Yankees to go back to their older ways where they have to throw money at these people and they have to really push the luxury tax, if not go over it, to even compete cross town, let alone in their division. So I don't know. I would be scared if I were a Philly fan. Also, back to the Realmuto point, I think he's going to get him. That's one of his priorities. He said, I got to go out and get a catcher. So that's the catcher to get.
Cash, anything to add on the Steve Cohen front?
There's so much I want to say.
Cash just wants to call
Go
him
ahead. You
irrelevant,
have the
but he knows he
platform to
can't.
do so.
Everyone's got to relax.
This is exciting, Cash. I mean, look,
I know.
I
I'm
felt
not
the same
saying
way
it's
as you.
not.
I was like, all right, they're getting
But
a new
how
owner.
about how about you for like 2 seconds pretend you're a Mets fan? This is exciting for a Mets fan.
Not saying it's not exciting for a Mets fan. All I'm saying is they're not going to compete tomorrow. Like, at the end of the day, the Wilpons were bad, but the Mets still have a culture problem, and they still have injury problems, and they still –
I don't think they have a culture problem. I think this is almost an immediate shift away from a bad culture problem.
Here's the thing with what Cash is saying. Maybe
Steve
not a culture
Cohen is
problem
not
per
coaching
se,
the team.
but Steve Cohen, before he gets guys to play for his team, he needs to put his ducks in order in terms of his front office. He cleared out everybody. He brought back Sandy Alderson. He needs to decide if he wants Luis Rojas to continue his role as manager.
I don't think so.
Will.
I would be shocked if
I
Rojas
feel like
is the manager
I
on
feel
the
like he
team
would have
today.
done so by now when they got rid of Van Wagenen.
No,
they would have
I mean,
done one
'cause
clean sweep.
I think it'll probably be a GM decision that'll come later. But I would be shocked if he doesn't have a full team of guys that he wants.
Well, it can't be too much later because every good managerial candidate will be taken.
That's what you think until you get a first-time guy.
But I don't know. I don't know every single
owner.
guy that could be a commander. I don't know. You're right.
Who knows? I mean, you never know. I mean, you could be correct too, for all we know.
Just manager-wise for the Mets, do you think Beltran would be in play?
He's never
I don't think
lost
so.
a game as a manager. I think it's pretty. It can't go unnoticed.
I mean,
I feel like
Hinch
this
and
is a
Cora
good
got
segue.
jobs again, and we'll get to that in a second. But Hinch and Cora got jobs. I feel like Beltran, based on what happened with them, would get a second chance somewhere.
I would say so.
You'd think.
He's the greatest manager of all time.
And
But he's never won a game, though, Cash.
Okay, but that's thinking too positive. He's never lost.
There's also guys, like Buck Showalter and like a bunch of million of other like former
And
catchers
there's a
and all that side of
guy.
stuff.
There's a guy in the Yankee booth named David Cohn who's been very public that he wants to manage.
John Flaherty as well wants to be a manager.
Let him co-manage the Mets.
I wouldn't be shocked if A-Rod wants to manage. He wanted to buy the Mets. You think he'll manage them?
No,
No, I don't think he'd do that.
he's salty
think so?
AF.
Yeah, he's very upset. I also don't think he would undermine himself to manage
He loves
the
the
team for the
Yankees
guy
too
that
much.
outbid him.
He loves the Yankees too much.
I don't think that's too much to ask to swallow your pride. If Steve Cohen, if you're A-Rod,
A-Rod, though.
Steve Cohen approaches you and says, I want you to manage the Mets. You think he doesn't think long and hard about that?
Well, I think
Because
A-Rod
he's embarrassed that he lost the bid, and now he's going to
I
work for
don't
the
know
guy
if
he
he's
lost
necessarily
to.
embarrassed.
I think that he is embarrassed. I think that A-Rod's got 2 words for Steve Cohen, and it's not "hello, beautiful." You know what I'm saying?
He's got a nice cushy studio job too.
He has
Yeah,
such
he's
a good
doing
gig.
okay.
I don't think talk about like in the NBA, Jeff Van Gundy, kind of like A-Rod. Like they have such good gigs where they are. Why go back to the dugout or to the sideline? There's no stress with the TV job. It's easy. It's a couple times a week.
Who knows?
But for right now, Luis Rojas is the manager of the Mets, and Steve Cohen is the owner. Also today, Mets news, Marcus Stroman, who blocked Tyler on Twitter.
I don't know why. I truly don't know why. I don't
Because
understand
you said
it.
he would be Sonny Gray.
No, I didn't. See, look, this is the problem. This is why I'm blocked, is because Marcus Stroman read the tweet the same way you did. It said, and I'll pull it up. How's that? Ready? Get ready. Taking me 2 seconds. I have it. If the Yankees sign Marcus Stroman, I didn't say write his name. I tagged him. He'd be exactly the pitcher Sonny Gray was supposed to be in New York. Because when
Supposed to be is the key phrase there.
Supposed to be.
Sonny Gray was supposed to be good.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype coming around him.
Maybe he misread it and doesn't want to deal with you.
He could be illiterate.
You know how I don't want to go into this. It's a soft move. It's a soft move.
Are you a little upset?
He's really got to be on edge about something if he's blocking me for
He's
that.
very sensitive.
Clearly. I gave him a
because
compliment.
Because he attacked the Yankees rotation for no reason. If you remember.
All right, okay.
Because he was
not the biggest fan.
Go to the Yankees, and the Mets were the team that got him.
I'm not the biggest fan of Marcus Stroman, but in that particular sequence of tweets where he said that aside from Cole, he might be the best Yankee pitcher, I don't completely disagree. I don't. And I feel like it's not that crazy.
Well, he won't pitch for the Yankees this year because he signed an 18.9 qualifying offer with the Mets. Now, you could say that that's good for the Mets that they got Stroman back because they traded Anthony Kay and other prospects to Toronto for him. But you can also say that $18.9 million could be allocated somewhere else, and Stroman wouldn't have gotten that on the open market, so why even give him the qualifying offer? It is what it is. But in terms of qualifying offers, Gausman accepted it with the Giants, Stroman with the Mets, Bauer rejected, DJ LeMahieu rejected, Real Muto rejected, Springer rejected. Am I missing anybody?
I think that's it.
That's it? So that means Bauer, DJ, Real Muto, Springer all join the free agent bunch. Of those players, which one is the most valuable? Which one does a franchise need to bring in?
DJ LeMahieu.
You're a Real Muto.
I forgot he was in there.
It's JT.
It's JT. I forgot he was in there.
Just what he can do offense. He's the best offensive catcher in the game.
Whoa. Did you see like 4 of Gary Sanchez's at-bats this year? I mean, he had a really good 4 at-bats. I wouldn't put it past him.
He's the best he's the best catcher in the game. There's no question about it. And he can run. Like the guy he does everything. So he's definitely the most valuable. I think DJ's right behind him for what he can do offensively and defensively.
I just think it's a positional thing in terms of value.
Yeah, I think.
But what's more valuable than a good starting pitcher?
Catcher.
Not much. And especially the Cy Young Award winner in Trevor Bauer.
I've knocked Trevor Bauer before.
You
really?
He was great this year, but
fantastic.
His career track record isn't top of the line starting pitcher.
He's pretty good.
No, but to be fair,
I mean, you can say that. You can also say that about Garrett Cole.
But Garrett Cole did it for 2 years in Houston.
This is Bauer's second year, though, of like pretty good dominant performance.
Okay, that's fine. I still don't believe in Trevor. I don't think Trevor Bauer is Garrett Cole level. I think he's more of what the Phillies gave Zach Wheeler last offseason, money-wise.
Oh, I think you got to find a happy medium there.
No.
Okay.
I can't stand the whole antics with Trevor. Like, I think there's just so much that goes with him. I just don't think he's worth it. I don't think he's
his vlogs are very positive.
It's all positive, in my opinion.
Except for when he's cutting his finger playing with drones before the most important start of his career.
He didn't do it this year, and he won the Cy Young.
Oh, you win some, you lose some. What's whatever.
Yeah. Who needs a Cy Young pitcher anyways? He has a YouTube channel.
What team needs Bauer the most? Let me phrase that question. What team needs the Trevor Bauer is like the Garrett Cole of this offseason in terms of the best starting pitcher available. What team needs Trevor Bauer the most?
The Reds.
Think the Reds?
I do. I think that he kind of, I don't want to say put them on the map, but like every 5 days, like they had.
They wouldn't have made the playoffs without him.
They had one of the best rotations in baseball this year between him and the resurgence of Sonny Gray and what's the other kid's name that I don't remember. He throws gas though.
Luis Castillo.
Yeah, that guy. The 3 of them had a very good season, and I think the Reds are kind of right there. They're a young up and coming team, and to lose him would suck. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you. I think a team like the Padres or White Sox could be involved. I think
I-
the White Sox, you put him in front of Giolito, all of a sudden you got a very devastating 1-2. I think that could be a landing spot. And obviously the Padres, most exciting young team out west in baseball. You put him with his old teammate in Cleveland, Mike Clevenger. That's a very dangerous team, even for the world champion Dodgers. Like the Dodgers, even though they won the World Series, if you add Bauer to the Padres, that's not a walk in the park in that division anymore.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers went after Bauer too.
They go after everybody. So I
Yeah,
agree
why
with you.
not? That'd be awesome.
I think it's the Padres because they didn't have any pitching in the postseason because Clevenger went down. Paddock was down. He wasn't as good this year. Dinelson Lamet was hurt in the postseason. Like they were missing that top starting pitcher for the postseason run. And of course, he's really good friends with Clevenger. So that's probably right there. I mean, obviously, you said it before, the Mets are going to be a player involved in him. I like the White Sox, too. They were a team that went out and spent last year. So who knows if they're going to be wanting to spend a lot again this year. But I like them as a potential landing spot.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the Red Sox went after him too. I mean, they need pitching bad.
They don't have money, though. That's the problem. And if you're going to go out and pay Trevor Bauer $30 million, why didn't you?
Who
pay
doesn't
Mookie
have
Betts?
money?
If the Red Sox didn't pay Mookie Betts $30 million a year, why are you going to go out and pay Trevor Bauer $30 million a year?
I'm telling you, something must have happened because the Red Sox have money.
Well, they wanted to get
It
under
was
the
the JD
tax.
Martinez contract,
That's-
which is probably he was probably their best offensive player over the past couple of years.
Listen, I'm just saying, I do not. I think that something happened between the Red Sox front office and Mookie Betts. I really, truly believe that. I don't think they're just going to let a generational talent walk like that.
We'll never know.
How about the Angels and Bauer? The Angels need Trevor Bauer.
I mean, yeah, if
There
you're talking
is-
about an
there-
absolute
There's no chance in this world that Trevor Bauer agrees to go to Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim
Why
Zero.
do you say that?
because he's all about the spotlight, and he's not going to get that there.
But his whole thing, he was in
He
Cincinnati.
did it in Cincinnati.
He was in Cleveland, Cincinnati. Now, you send him out to LA where he's now playing with Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon and Shohei Ohtani. His whole thing is he has his YouTube channel. He has all of his mediums of self-expression. So he's doing that on his own. It doesn't matter where he's situated.
No,
That's the
I don't
thing.
disagree with you, but I just think that this is his time to get into the limelight. Like, he's been in Cleveland, he's been in Cincinnati, like two pretty lower end market teams. He's got his opportunity to make a big splash. Like,
I don't know if I agree with that.
you don't have to agree with it. I'm just.
But
think
it
he
is
thinks
Los.
he
Oh, well,
is the spotlight.
it's technically Anaheim, but it says Los Angeles on the jersey.
All right. Well, understood. And it's like it says Tampa Bay on their jersey too, but they draw nobody. I mean, it's the same thing. I don't know.
I don't
They're
think
always
big
good-
market is necessarily on his radar.
Bauer will go wherever the most money's coming from. He doesn't care about where it is. He'll
Do you
go
believe
wherever
him
the
when
money
he
is.
says he's going to go somewhere that lets him pitch every 4 days instead of every 5 days?
No, because nobody's going to do that.
If he wants to pitch every 4 days, come to New York.
But
Please.
that
We need it.
messes up every other pitcher in your rotation.
That's also true.
It's such a selfish move.
I
It's
think
such a
that's
Trevor
I
Bauer
think that's
move.
only possible if he would be like the bona fide ace. Like there's nobody else that can challenge him for that. He can't go to the Yankees and do that because they're
The
going to
Angels, you get it
first.
done.
I don't know.
It
I
just
think the
messes with
Angels,
everyone
even if
else.
it's not Bauer, the Angels need to do something.
All right. You want my hot take of the
Go
week?
ahead.
Bauer to the Marlins.
To the Marlins. Okay.
To be
That's
completely
absurd.
honest, it would
Let me
not
write this
surprise
down.
me. It wouldn't surprise me.
Marlins.
Why are you
Jeter-
writing it down? We're recording a podcast, Glenn.
Bauer. It's just a joke of it. Leave me alone.
Jeter's going to make a splash. He is not satisfied with making the playoffs for one season.
Is that a pun? Splash and then the Marlins.
No, but I wish I thought of that. No, I mean, Jeter's not going to be satisfied with just making the playoffs. I mean, Jeter's a born winner, and he wants another ring on his finger. So I think that Jeter's going to go out and do everything he can to get his fan base back in Miami.
I don't know if they're ready to spend yet. That's the thing. And especially with the
You
way
put
this
Bauer
season
with
went.
Sanchez back to back in that rotation.
That's a pretty good rotation.
It's a good one too.
You can go through all 30 teams and with the exception of the Dodgers and say that you need a guy like Trevor Bauer. He's just one of those pitchers. He's the Cy Young winner. What team wouldn't need Trevor Bauer? It's a serious question. Like,
Well, all I'm saying is that the Marlins aren't spending a lot of money right now, so they're the team.
it's not that they aren't. They don't have it. They reported a huge loss this year. They legitimately don't have it.
I don't know. I mean, the owner has money. I mean, ask Glenn. He counts all their money. Every owner has billions of dollars.
I'm actually the accountant for all 30 Major League Baseball owners.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, so you must be good at math.
I'm very good. Very good at math. I got a C+ in my freshman year math class. It's the only math I needed to take.
C's get degrees. Or is it D's?
That's right.
I don't know how it works.
So we discussed Bauer. We discussed Realmuto. Let's move to DJ. How imperative is it for the Yankees to get DJ? And do you see a situation where the Yankees don't get him back?
I think that it's more likely they don't sign him.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
I don't know. Like I just think
I have
that
the feeling too. I really
if
have.
Cashman was going to re-sign him, he would have done it already. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not sure how I would not react positively at all if they do not re-sign DJ LeMahieu.
That's a very nice way of putting
I don't
it.
think anybody will. From every sense that I get from every Yankee fan out there in the world is that if DJ LeMahieu is not on that team next year, it's going to be an uprising amongst the fans.
Like it would be to the point where I'm not sure I'd want to watch the team anymore.
Is there a level that you won't go if you're the Yankees in terms of years or money?
I think you got to hand him a blank check.
No, yeah. I mean, okay, it's all fun and games to say blank check, but like realistically, he's what, 30 years old? He's 32.
Give him a 4-year deal. the dude just hit.
Do you think they're hesitant to go to the 4th year though?
Probably.
I
would be.
Third year with an option.
How old Aaron Hicks? He's 30. They gave him a 7-year deal at 30.
Yeah, and I thought that was stupid, but that's not even comparable. That's not even close.
Why?
Because Aaron Hicks
is only $10 million a year.
Aaron Hicks is a big swinger. At 34, 35, 36 years old, you can probably still poke it like DJ can.
That's my point.
I mean, no, I see your point completely. I would love to have him for 3 more years, 4 more years. But from the Yankees' perspective, when you're trying to sign a 32-year-old, I mean, you're very hesitant to go. I don't care who he is at 32, but you're going to tie
all
up
I'm saying is
$20 million to pay this guy over the last 2 years of his career. It's not necessarily a good move. That's the thing.
Forget age, right? Well, you're going to do that with Stanton for the last 10 years of his career, but
exactly. You can't just keep tying money up.
Let's think baseball for a second. The Yankees struggled to hit for average, and they need a guy like DJ LeMahieu. And it just so happens they had a guy like that all season for the last 2 years. And the fact that they haven't tied him up yet, to me,
it's only been 10 days.
No, but you've had him on your team.
Glenn,
extensions exist. That's the thing. That's the fishy part.
That's fair. That's fair.
The same reason why I think that Realmuto won't resign with the Phillies is because if he would have done it already. Or I should phrase it, if they would have signed him, they would have done it already.
Yeah, I agree. I just think DJ is a guy who's proven that he's going to be on the field every single day. He doesn't miss time. He's been a silver slugger every single year since 2000. He's won the last 2. Sorry, I was looking at his baseball reference. It's all broken up. So he's won the silver slugger the last 2 years. Was a top 5 MVP candidate last year. Like, the guy is phenomenal. Like, I just don't see a situation where the Yankees can let him go because they have so many questions about guys staying on the field. He's a guy that's been there every single day for them, can play first base, second base, third base. You could put him at shortstop if you had to. You're not going to, but you can. The guy hits. He hits, what's his career average now? He's
probably like 298, maybe 305, right around there. It's got to be
309 is my guess.
He's a career 305 hitter. Like,
there you go.
You need that guy in your lineup. It would just be shocking if they let him go.
It'd be a huge hole in the lineup. Who can replace him? Tyler
Nobody.
Wade? Nobody.
No, but okay, so the other, I guess, part of this would be if they're not re-signing DJ LeMahieu, I don't think it's because they couldn't come to terms. I think it's because, I mean, I guess this is going against what I was saying before because we truly don't know. But I think the only reason you don't attempt to get DJ LeMahieu back is if you are finally offloading pieces and getting Lindor in the trade from Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I was just going to say that. I was just going to
there's
bring
no
Lindor
other
up in general.
explanation.
There's other guys. I read that the Yankees have contacted Andrelton Simmons. Tommy Lacella's out there. But if it's not LeMahieu, the only thing that's going to satisfy Yankee fans and make them feel better would be Lindor.
I wouldn't mind an Andrelton Simmons.
And then we get into the conversation of who would you give up for Lindor?
I mean, does a Lindor trade get done without Glaber?
I don't know. I would hope so.
Do they want Clint Frazier back?
Cash,
I
you
want
rolled
him
your
to
eyes.
play,
What's up?
but at some point you got to do something. I don't know.
How many times are the Yankees going to make this huge splash trade that just doesn't work out?
I don't.
Well, nobody's
think
saying
Lindor's in
nobody's
that
saying they're going to do
conversation.
it. We're just hypothetical.
What I'm saying is that you need LeMahieu. That dude was an automatic multi-hit dude every night. I'm sorry. There is no one comparable in the league to DJ LeMahieu. I would not rather anyone else in my lineup. I'm not saying he's the best player in baseball, but what I'm saying is that he's the best hitter in baseball. And I think that you need that average guy, and they don't have any of them. And we don't know if Lindor is going to hit for average here. We don't know if he's going to hit for homers here. We don't know anything. And you're probably going to have to give up someone of high value, like maybe Gleyber Torres, because you're not going to get him for free. The Indians aren't.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
but at
give
that
up
point, you
Glaber.
don't do it. I wouldn't trade him.
Obviously, but are you taking that risk and not signing LeMahieu?
I think
no,
the priority
I would
is
say
to
it has
sign
to be a done
LeMahieu,
deal.
but you need to be, because he is a free agent and he's free to go with any other team he wants to. You need to have that backup plan in place in case it goes wrong. Because at the end of the day, Lindor has.
I don't agree with you. I do not agree with you.
Lindor has all the what's the word I'm looking for? I'm struggling with the word, but Lindor has. LeMahieu has the wherewithal to say no to the Yankees offer.
I don't agree with you. He's
Why?
been here for 2 years. He's made it very clear that he's enjoyed his time here. If the Yankees want him, they can go get him. Bottom line.
But if another
He's
team
not gonna
blows
say-
them out of the water, then you're not getting him.
Glenn, they would really have to get blown out of the water.
Who knows?
They'd have to get beat out by multi millions of dollars.
Leverage is the word I'm looking for. I got it.
What?
LeMahieu has all the leverage in this situation.
100%.
Yeah, but the Yankees have to match it. I think this shouldn't even be a conversation.
I know it shouldn't
I'm
be a
on the vote
conversation,
100%
but
with you.
we've seen it before as Yankee fans.
That's my point.
8 years ago, they let Cano walk.
Oh, that
Everybody
was
said the
different.
same things about Cano. You got to bring Cano back. He's the best player on the team. He's the best hitter on the team. They let him go.
That was different. He got the 10-year contract he wanted. Listen, if someone else is going to go give LeMahieu a 10-year contract, God bless him. We're not giving him a 10-year contract.
Robbie Cano's done on that 10-year contract. He's
Nothing.
sat on it and collected a paycheck, essentially.
So my point is, if someone else is going to give LeMahieu all that money, fine. Best of luck to DJ. Thank you for all you did. But if the Yankees need to give him an offer that really he can't refuse.
I agree.
I agree.
Like I said, if they were going to do that, they would have already done that.
So you think we're SOL, essentially?
Yeah, and I think that there's going to be a huge rant.
Okay,
Next
how
time
about this,
we're on the
Cash?
mic?
How about what you say happens and DJ leaves, and then they sign Didi? You happy then?
No.
Or you
I think
feel
it's a
better at
downgrade.
least?
Do I feel better? I love Didi. He could be my favorite player in baseball, but DJ LeMahieu hit like 315 this year.
The problem with that is you now are playing with Glaber and not a guy that's already not comfortable at shortstop. Glaber has a longer leash than Didi does as far as career length goes. You're now taking Glaber, who was a second baseman, came over to play shortstop now. His first year struggled a little bit. You're going to sign a shortstop, move Glaber back to second. Didi's going to have, 2 years left? Probably in a Yankee uniform, maybe 1. I don't know.
So what are you going to do with Lindor?
That's a different story because Lindor is younger and has also a longer leash. Didi's like
How old is
32 years
Lindor?
old as well.
How old Lindor? Do we
I
know?
think he's like 28 at this point.
26.
26.
Oh,
26.
pretty
God,
young.
that's even better.
He turns 27 on on Saturday. He turns 27.
Oh, happy
There you go.
birthday.
I guess point being is you're not going to keep playing with Glaber and where he's in the field and stunting his defensive development at shortstop for another year or two of Didi Gregorius.
No, I think at that point, you give up of Glaber at short and you put him at second. And then when Didi is gone, you go and get another shortstop.
Look, it's an option. But I'm saying if you're going to pay the money to get Didi, which I think he's going to command like $15 million maybe, somewhere in the ballpark of 10 to 15, pay the extra 5 and go get DJ. Pay the extra 7 and go get DJ. That's where you need to make the decision. I would not be happy with that. It's a downgrade.
And you know what? The other thing is there's a very high possibility that DJ just tells the Yankees to fuck off.
That's what I was
would
just
be
saying.
pissed.
I mean, Didi. I mean, Didi.
I mean, Didi went on WFAN and said, I don't think they want me back.
But originally, you mean, or this year?
Not this year. It was like
No, he went on
ago.
like a couple weeks ago.
I didn't see that, but he said that last year too, and he said that they didn't call me. He said I wanted to come back, and they didn't call me.
Yeah, they didn't because they were so focused on Cole.
Stupid. You can't focus on more than one guy.
So
I don't think they wanted him back because they also had a chance after Cole to sign Betances and they didn't do it. So I don't think Didi was ever coming back.
So I'm looking at Spotrac, which tracks contracts and stuff like that. They have DJ averaged at his market value at being $22.8 million.
I feel like that's fair.
And-
3 years, $66 million. I do that.
Yeah, so that's what they're saying he's essentially going to get. And they have Didi at
I mean, it's 13.5.
at 10.3 million.
Wow,
is
that's
his
low.
market value. I think that's a little low for Didi,
We
but
paid Brett Gardner $10 million.
I think I'd rather pay a little extra money to have LeMahieu.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
So I was just sent this tweet that was posted about 15 minutes ago by a guy named Brandon Cootie, reporter for NewJersey.com, and he covers the Yankees.
He's the Yankees guy.
Trevor, and he tweets this. Trevor Bauer said he has a, quote, ton of respect, end quote, for Yankees pitching coach Matt Blake, who worked in player development with minor leaguers when they were together with the Indians. And the quote from Bauer is, I just haven't had a chance to work with him really on a day-to-day basis anytime in the past. So perhaps sometime in the future that would be a reality.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't be upset. I'll tell you that.
It'd be awesome.
I would love that. I would love Trevor Bauer in Prince Stripes.
I'm teetering right now on the edge, and I don't want to harp on Yankee stuff for too long because I know we have other stuff to get to. But I'm like teetering on the edge of losing faith in Brian Cashman.
I was just going to say
and
that
Yankee front office.
That
would reel me all the way back.
This is a make or break offseason for Brian Cashman in the Yankees front office. You need to sign LeMahieu. Bringing Bauer would be great, and you need more in that bullpen as well. And as of now, they don't have any of that. So
I agree. The bullpen is definitely something they need to address. Britton came back. He accepted the qualifying offer, or he accepted his option, whatever one of the two. I don't remember exactly.
He's back. That's all that matters.
But he's back. Chapman, who knows as time goes on what that fastball is going to look like. Ottavino has completely been a disaster contract. I don't think that's any up for debate anymore. Chad Green is always solid. But other than that, without Canely, who is now not on, who got non-tendered or released or whatever it was.
No, he asked to be released.
Oh, he asked to
Yeah,
be released.
they tried to option him to AAA while he was rehabbing for Tommy John, and he said just.
Moral of the
release
story,
him.
he wasn't going to be back anyway this year. Now it's after Britton, Chapman, and Green. Then you got like Loizaga. You have, Sessa. I don't trust those guys in big spots. Who are the big relievers out there?
Liam Hendricks is out there.
Liam Hendricks, Kirby Yates, Ken Giles, Blake Trinan, Alex Colomé.
And the Yankees have been linked to Cash's favorite player in baseball, Josh Hader, in the past.
I think that's a waste at this point.
He's expendable for the Brewers at this point with Devin Williams.
Would it cost them much?
I think it would cost something, but I think his
it
value.
Would cost a top 15, top 20 prospect or two.
Yeah, well, you look back
absolutely.
to the Chapman trade. We got Glaber.
That's the gold standard for reliever trades now. That's set the market for the rest of time.
Yeah, like if you're saying like for us to trade you Hater, you have to send us like Clint Frazier. Like
Or
I
like a
don't think
Jason
that's a
Dominguez kind of thing.
yeah, like that's a big ask. I don't know
Yeah.
if we're in especially with the free agent class and relievers that we have this year. I don't think it's worth that at all. If you're gonna go make a trade, do it somewhere else. Make it in the starting rotation. Make it for like a catcher. Dare I say it?
Yeah. Let's move more into Lindor, but from a non-Yankee perspective.
Mhm.
You know, it's a shame that the Indians aren't going to be able to afford him. That just seems to be the way that organization rolls. With not signing guys, not signing a Kluber, not signing a Bauer, letting people go, and then Lindor's going to be the next guy. Not the Yankees. Let's make the assumption that DJ's back and that squashes the Lindor kind of rumor. What team do you think needs Lindor the most? Which team do you expect Lindor to possibly get traded to?
Oh, that's two different questions.
It is. Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I apologize.
So who do I think needs him the
Where
most?
do you think Lindor's best fit is? How about that?
Honestly,
Go ahead.
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
I
He's
think
not.
it's.
He's not staying though. It's inevitable. They're not going to pay him.
I know, but I think it's so stupid that they're letting him walk. They're a smaller market team, right? And they're letting their star guy walk. He brought them to a World Series. I just think it's so idiotic that they're letting him walk.
You
So
gotta
I
get,
think
you got to get something for him though.
I don't disagree. I think you need to pay him.
They're not though.
I
They're
know
owned,
that.
They're owned by a Dolan.
No, I get that. I'm just saying that's what I think they should do.
Okay. I think your thought process is right, but it's just not going to happen.
No, I realize that. And, my other point is I think that I would not be surprised to see Steve Cohen make a bid on Lindor and give up too much because he wants that big name.
And I think you can overpay in that spot to get a 26, 27-year-old shortstop.
And now the Mets would be able to afford to keep him.
And you could trade the Mets could trade a guy like Ahmed Rosario who's kind of overstayed his welcome in New York, but for Cleveland, that's a guy that they probably would be interested in because he is a major leaguer. He's shown flashes at times, so like they could.
I think a Mets deal would need to start with a Dom Smith kind of guy.
So the interesting thing is with the Mets is if the National League doesn't keep the DH this year, they are going to have to trade Dom Smith
or Pete Alonso. And Dom Smith is the guy to trade there because he had the better year. You capitalize on his value right now, and you ship him off. It's also a hard sell to trade Alonso, even though it might be the better guy to trade.
I don't think they're going to get rid of the DH, though.
They are. It's very much in conversation that the DH is getting eliminated in the National League.
Really?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
I don't know why. At the beginning of the year, you guys know I was not on board with it. After watching 60 games, baseball is just so much better with the DH. So that needs to say. But to answer Glenn's question about where Lindor should go, I mean, we keep saying the Angels need to make a splash. I don't know what they have to trade, but
they don't have anything to trade.
They're losing Andrelton Simmons. They have a hole there at shortstop. Like, I don't know if that's even logical, but I just don't know because the teams that I was seeing, JP Morosi was saying it was the Yankees, the Phillies, the Blue Jays, which I thought was weird since they have Bichette, the Mets, and there's one more team. I forget who it was.
I like the Cardinals move.
And that was the Cardinals was the other team that were like
Cardinals need some offense. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that'd be super interesting.
What kind of package? What a Phillies package look like, Scott? Out of curiosity.
Bryson Stott, shortstop prospect, who they took in the first round last year or 2 years ago. I think Alec Boehm and Spencer Howard are off limits because they're going to be huge contributors in the big leagues this year. I don't know. Maybe you trade the kid that you just drafted in the first round, Mika Bell. I think.
Are you willing to do any of this?
Yeah. Oh, I would be 1,000% as long as Alec Boehm and Spencer Howard weren't involved. I would be 1,000% on board with getting Francisco Lindor. he's one of the best shortstops in the game. I think he's forgotten about too, being in Cleveland.
I think it needs to be said that he did have a down year.
He had a down year, but he hit 258 in a down year. Like, is that all that bad? He played all 60 games this year, which is nice to see. He's got power. He plays good defense. He's a very good player.
I think I wonder if this will be the first kind of war between a National League East team and the Mets in the Steve Cohen era. Because if the Phillies are getting these rumblings that Frankie Lindor is on his way to the Mets, I wonder if the Phillies kind of say, "Oh no, we need to get on this," so they don't get him. Sort of deal.
They did with JT Realmuto. Like, it was everything that we were hearing when JT was getting traded was he's going to the Mets. It's going to be for Syndergaard. That's the play. And then all of a sudden the Phillies came in and they gave up Sixto Sanchez, their top pitching prospect, and Jorge Alfaro, their top catching prospect, to get him. So yeah, they could certainly jump in. They have some guys that they might be able to offload. As I said, I would do it in a heartbeat. He's a switch hitting shortstop with power. Like, it's hard to turn that down.
Be interesting to see what happens with Lindor. Obviously, at his best, the best shortstop in baseball by far. Big shorts. Also, something to remember: big shortstop class next year. So whatever team doesn't get Lindor this year will have Correa and Story and all these guys available next year.
Hear me out. Can I throw one quick little wrench in the tires?
Go ahead.
Tampa Bay Rays, Francisco Lindor. What if they decide,
tough.
hey, we want to spend some money?
Because they won't sign him.
Yeah, but you don't know that. What if they just?
I'm pretty sure.
What if they all of a sudden decide, hey, we made the World Series. This is our time. Let's go get Lindor, pay him the money.
Do they have the money?
I'm sure they do. Dude, they have such a low payroll. Like a ridiculously low payroll. They would probably pay Lindor more money than they paid their entire payroll. It's not like these teams have nothing, man. Like, they're choosing not to spend.
I don't see.
They would have to extend him immediately because if you get into a bidding war next winter, it won't happen.
Oh, then you're screwed for sure.
Yeah, so that shortstop class next year is insane. It's Lindor, Story, Seager, Javi Baez, and Carlos Correa are all free agents next year.
Are you really? I don't know. Are you really about to go sign a Lindor for this mega extension if you didn't sign a guy like Longoria? Like he was the franchise. He was the franchise.
Yeah, that's why it would never happen.
And also, it's just not in their DNA. They do so many things well that they don't need to do that.
They have Wander Franco, who's ready to be in the big leagues next year.
That's another good point.
At 19 years old.
I digress.
Let's move on to managers, more specifically the newly reinstated managers that got jobs immediately after getting suspended for a year. Hinch goes to the Tigers. Core goes back to the Red Sox. Now, you could make the argument that they didn't get enough of a punishment. They get back immediately. But the punishment was the punishment. They did their time. But do you still think, in terms of the Red Sox and the Tigers organizationally, that this sends a bad message? I feel. I'm trying to articulate this well. But do you think it sends a bad message to MLB that these guys got hired immediately and didn't kind of wait around for a couple more years before they got jobs again?
I mean, I'm personally not surprised. Like I mean, at least with the Red Sox case, I'm not surprised that they stooped that low to bring back that same exact guy. And as for the Tigers, I'm also not surprised because they're in a really bad, desperate spot right now. And I feel like that's a move they had to make. It's a really talented manager with like a tainted reputation. And I feel like that's a guy that you bring in there to kind of begin the turnaround and really get back to kind of where you were when you had Verlander, Porcello, and Scherzer in your rotation. Just like stacking the team.
Yeah, and the Tigers know AJ Hinch. He was a player there, so they already have a relationship. They also know that AJ Hinch is a guy that can kind of see a team through bad times. AJ Hinch was the manager at the tail end of those 100-loss seasons for the Astros, and then, I mean, cheating, yes, but got them to World Series in prominence. So the guy knows what he's doing. And yeah, the Cora thing was kind of inevitable. We kind of all saw it when he got fired last year. It was like he's just going to be gone for the year because they named
Renicky.
Renicky. He was only the interim manager, so we kind of knew it was going to happen. Cora did seem somewhat apologetic during his intro. He said he deserved what he got. Yeah, there was never any punishment really ever given out to anybody. So like, why would we expect anything to be different for those
I have a
managers
question.
involved?
I have a question. When A-Rod got suspended for steroids, and then he went and played Boston at Fenway, and they threw at his head a couple times. I believe it was Ryan Dempster who threw at his head a couple times. The Red Sox were okay with that because he cheated, right? You see where I'm going here? And now they bring back a guy who cheated, right? Just curious about that.
That wasn't a question.
Question mark.
All right.
I'm just
No, but
Frauds.
elaborate. Like, how do you feel?
I just think
that this happened.
I just think it's pathetic that these guys turned around and I don't know 8 months later they get jobs
And it
and
wasn't
we
even
have
a full season. It was
and
60 games.
we have a guy like Pete Rose who can't even get elected in the Hall of Fame after he bet on himself. It's not like he bet against his team and threw games. He bet on himself. Greatest hitter of all time, possibly.
It seems that baseball has this tendency to pick and choose who gets completely vilified by.
I
the
truly
community.
believe that Rob Manfred does not know what he's doing. And we didn't talk about this, but did you see how we presented Mookie Betts with the World Series MVP? I mean Seager.
He was a little out.
Did you
Awful.
see him when he raised the,
A little
when he gave the
drunk.
trophy to the owner of the Dodgers? Like
He
he
doesn't
got
know he's-
booed. He seemed to be flustered by getting booed so much.
He's so stupid.
Yeah.
I would say I feel bad for him, but I don't. You know, that kind of thing.
Who do you think benefits more from the manager or core with the Red Sox, Hinch with the Tigers? Who's going to be more successful? Because both teams are rebuilding.
It's pretty. I mean, it's a good question, and I think it's going to be Hinch in the long run. Depending on how long he stays there, I just feel like the Red Sox are really dysfunctional. I guess. I mean, from the front office all the way down at this point, like they're in the middle of scandals. They just let their superstar right fielder walk, or center fielder, wherever you want to play him. The guy can play anywhere. They're just in a really weird time right now that they haven't been in a while, and I don't think Cora can get out of it. I think Hinch, if he can clear his name and kind of stop bringing that into the limelight, I feel like the Tigers will be able to kind of turn that around a lot quicker.
And the Tigers took some positive steps forwards this year. They weren't as bad as we all thought they were going to be.
For sure.
They got the opportunity to play a lot of their young guys this year. And I think they got the chance to see that they do have some players. They had the first overall pick this past year. I don't know I didn't expect the Red Sox to be as bad as they were this year. And yes, they obviously had some injuries and were missing guys, but they just seem so, just as Ty said, dysfunctional right now. Their ownership group is more concerned about saving money than putting the money into that franchise where it doesn't matter. Like that stadium sells out. Like the fans are there all the time. Like they shouldn't be concerned about, how much it's going to cost them to put out a good product. I think Hinch is a better manager too. He's proven. I mean, Cora, obviously he has the 1 year and won the World Series, but Hinch just has a better track record as of right now. So I would say Hinch long-term is better in Detroit.
Cash, what do you think, Cora or Hinch?
I don't know. I hate them both. I think they both suck. Listen, I'm going to say the same thing that I said about the Astros this year. If you could prove to me that you can win without cheating, then I'll give you credit. But until then, in my eyes, they have no credit.
That's fair. You have every right to feel that way. One more thing before we go. Kind of news in baseball that kind of, in my opinion, got, kind of thrown out there. People wanted an answer, and the baseball just gave it to them. Turner's on-field celebration with the COVID and all that kind of stuff. MLB said in a statement that, they were obviously Turner broke the rules, but they're not going to do anything because, themselves were complicit by allowing it. We cool? We not cool with that?
I think they handled it okay. They finally took responsibility for something. So that was a good step in the right direction. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's not much more you can do about it. I feel like nothing else came. We're how many weeks removed right now, and there haven't been any crazy outrages.
A few Dodgers and a family member got COVID.
Yeah, but I'm saying it. So we're gonna dive back into this again, kind of.
No, we don't need to. We don't need to.
No. It's fine. I'm not. I don't have a strong opinion on it necessarily, but nothing major happened. It wasn't fatal to any parties involved. A lot of people do get over it, and nothing happened. Nothing will happen, knock on wood. So I feel like it was an unfortunate situation. It was a scary situation, I guess, and blown up. All the spotlight was on Justin Turner, but I feel like we're good now. So
I'm going to put it squarely on the MLB because they were in a bubble for, 6 weeks? And they had a guy test positive, and the NBA was in the bubble for over 100 days, and not one staff member tested positive.
Now, let me add to that. Now, what's the difference between those two situations?
The NBA is a well-run organization.
No, well, yes. Baseball decided to have fans in the World Series and LCS. That's possibly how Turner could have gotten it.
I find it really hard to believe.
I don't know.
Well, he got it from somewhere, hotel attendant, something.
All I'm saying is MLB is not well run. And I'm going to be honest with you that we sit and we watch baseball. We watch MLB baseball because we love the sport. But Major League Baseball as a league sucks. And they're not well run. They have a horrible leader.
Yeah, they had an award show the same night as election night.
And it's just you just had to throw that in there. You couldn't. You had to throw it in there. But you're right. I mean, they're just very poorly run, and it's a bad business, and it needs to change quick.
Scott, you got the final word on this.
Yeah, I think Ty said it right. It was a weird situation. It was a bad situation, but nothing happened really long term. The season was over. They all went home. Everyone survived. But I also like what Cash said. They're just a poorly run sport right now. Manfred's just doesn't have any idea what's going on at the top, and it trickles down. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. The season's over. Nothing really came of it, and that's it. That's all I got.
At the end of the day, it doesn't change the scenario, the result that the Dodgers did win the World Series. Which, Cash, you weren't there. You weren't here for the last, for when we recapped the World Series. You were at work, so you can have the last word, I guess, of the episode if you have anything to say about the Dodgers-Rays series because you didn't have a chance 2 weeks ago.
Really happy for Kershaw. That guy he deserved a ring. He pitched really well the whole series, and I am so happy that Kevin Cash blew that series, man. Let me tell you. God. That was awesome.
What manager of the year?
He did.
Oh, that was awesome. It made my heart so happy. It made my wallet even happier. But shout out Kevin Cash. You fucking suck.
And with that, that will be it of this episode of Base Hit Ball 4. We're going to continue the podcast throughout the winter, throughout the hot stove season, right into spring training. And we're just going to keep it going. News and notes. The winter meetings will be virtual this year, which sucks because I like watching that. But I digress. Anytime there's breaking news, we're going to talk about it here. So stick with us all winter. For Scott Roswell, Alex Cashman, Tyler Boomstick, my name is Glenn Denegris. Thanks for listening to Base Hit Ball 4, presented by Caps On, and we'll see you on the next episode.